It is now time to move on to our glass transparency and well, messing about with the other material. So let us begin with the glass material, right? So actually no, let us actually begin with the transparent material. Right, for our transparent material, we're just gonna go into our master materials, make a new material, call it transparent. This is gonna be super basic. Why we need to do this? Because we just wanna hide things. We just need to make like a one vector, and so remember, just press one and left click, yeah, if you wanna make one, and just bring it into the opacity channel. But well, we don't have it active yet. Because we have to make the material surface translucent. So click here, click on the material, just click on blend mode, translucent, and just plug this into the opacity. And if it's on 0, and you just go here and apply it, transparent, well, there you go. Now this is hidden. Now this is useful sometimes because you might want to be working on something, and you just want to hide like one specific thing, and you can do that. But another way that this can be extremely helpful is when you are working on the decals. So sometimes you just want to be hiding stuff. That's how you do it. Like, simple as that. Just don't forget that this does not remove any geometry, it just hides it. So you need to keep that in mind. Now, with that said, make a new material called master mode glass, and we open it. Right, so first things first, we definitely want to make it surface translucent, because otherwise it's not going to work. Then what we want to do here, yeah, surface translucent and default lit, yeah, that's fine. Cast ray trace shadows, by the way, this you might want to actually remove it, because especially with glass it can be tricky. It's just gonna cast ray traced shadows all over the place. We don't want that, because it's gonna be like, if you're making, for example, a glass window, it's gonna, and you are hoping to get some sunlight from the outside, casting ray trace shadows is just gonna completely kill the sunlight coming in, because it behaves as a solid material, like with no translucency, and it will kill your sunlight coming in. So if you ever made a window and you were wondering why the sunlight from the outside was not reaching in, well, that's why, because you had probably cast ray trace shadows on. Now, let's start with the basics. So we're gonna make a 4 vector, plug it into the base color, convert it to a parameter, and call it color. Now, we're gonna be tweaking this a little bit as we see fit, but I normally would leave it pretty much like pretty light. I'll leave it like almost white. We're gonna make a new one, and we would place it into the metal. Like, we're gonna fix it up after, right? Actually, let's fix it right now, because you see the metallic is not on. Like, I plugged it, but this is gonna do nothing. Why? Because I don't have forward shading on. So now it's volumetric, non-directional. Just click here and make it surface forward shading. Pretty sure with translucency volume, yeah, it can work as well, but this is a different type of material, so we want surface forward shading. So the metallic, we're gonna put it on 1, because if we don't, it's just gonna look wrong. It's gonna look like plasticky, like transparent plastic. You don't want that. To make it look like glass, it has to be looking metallic, okay? Then, for the roughness, so we want to do something very similar to what we were doing before, like for the other material, the basic material. So we want to definitely have a texture parameter. So texture param to D, I convert it to a parameter and call it roughness texture. And as always, we're gonna give it a black placeholder, and for now we're just gonna plug it into the roughness. It's not really what we're gonna do in the end, and I'll show you soon like how we're gonna deal with this. For the opacity, again, we make a new parameter, plug it into the opacity, convert it to a one vector, plug in the opacity, convert it to a parameter, and call it opacity. Now, the opacity, as you may very well guess, is going to drive the overall like opacity of the material. Now, if it's 1, it's going to be completely opaque and you cannot see through it. Ideally, you want to have something like a 0.5 or, you know, something down that line, maybe like a 0.3, 0.5. You know, we can mess about with this after. Then we're going to need the index of refraction, okay? Now, it is disabled. And that is because the refraction method is probably also disabled. Take a look at it. Refraction method none. There you go. Just click here and click index of refraction. And now we have the IOR available. So for the IOR, we're going to need a Fresnel node. So Fresnel node, I'm not going to touch anything. It's fine. But what I do need is also a lerp. So click L, left click, and we get a lerp. Now, we're gonna have two one vectors here. One is for the refraction index. The other one is the refraction amount, and it's gonna be driven by the alpha, and is gonna eventually go into the refraction. So click 1 and click 1 again. Now we plug these in, and now we're gonna start parameterize them and call one refraction index, and we're gonna put this at 1, and this is gonna be the refraction amount. Now for glass, there are specific like you can literally just go look it up, like how much glass actually, how much refraction different materials have. Personal experience when it comes to game deving, you gotta kind of look at it, like, because sometimes you want a really thin glass sheet, like let's say it's just maybe like a little glass piece in front of like a, I don't know, you're making a let's say an object that it's see-through, like there's a glass part. You don't want it to refract like a whole lot. You just want it to refract slightly, otherwise it's gonna deform whatever is inside. It looks like a very thick glass. You don't want that. So it really depends. For now, I'm gonna set it to 1.52. Jesus, hello. Okay, 1.52, and just leave it at that for now. And that's about it for the refraction. Now, we can comment these. So refraction, roughness, we'll do it after. These we don't need to, because you know they're just a 1 parameter thing. And yeah, that's about it. But for the roughness, now we can start working on the roughness. So I'm gonna move it a little bit to the side. So first of all, we're gonna need a texture coordinate node, because we do want to have one. As we did before, we're gonna plug this into a multiply. Plug this directly into the UVs, and we want a 1 vector parameter. This is gonna be driving the tile, like the tiling of said texture that we're gonna be using, just like the same as we did before. So we're gonna call this roughness alpha tile. Perfect. I'm gonna leave it at 0 for now. That's fine. But after this, what we also wanna do is probably, yeah, just use the contrast as well. So one way of doing this would be to use the cheap contrast node again. So cheap contrast, and we would plug in a 1 vector, just like, yeah, just like this. For now, let's plug it into the roughness. We are gonna convert this to a parameter and call it roughness. Ew. Contrast. Okay, cool. And like, we're gonna test if it actually works. Before I did it in a different way. I was just checking the material I made before. I made it with a simple multiply node, but I feel like using a cheap contrast is better. We'll see. We'll see. Now, we're gonna plug into a lerp node. So this lerp node can go straight into the roughness, and in this lerp node, we are gonna be doing the roughness overall strength. Pretty much, we just plug in a 3 vector into the B. We'll leave it a black for now. And then we're gonna make a one vector param and call this roughness overall strength. So the way it's gonna work, the more we increase or decrease this, the more the roughness will increase or decrease, obviously. By the way, opacity we can... Greetings, this is Nick from the future, and I come to you to bring you some enlightenment on what the hell you've just witnessed. Now, if you're maybe an experienced material artist, you are also wondering, what in the f*** did I just do? Well, the answer is, I don't know. I probably just had a stroke while I was doing that. Now, I'm editing the video right now. You know, like, I'm actually editing the thing, and I'm like, what the f*** did I just do? So, this is the finished model, and I was like, why did I run this? Why did I run a 3 vector into a LURP with the alpha? This doesn't make any sense, okay? And I will show you exactly why. So, let's grab the material instance of this so that I can show you. So if I grab the material instance, look at the glass, right? Like later we'll, you'll understand how I made the glass exactly like that. But if I grab the roughness overall strength, which is this parameter right here, which is 1 minus, you'll understand later why. And I reduce it, you see it just, becomes completely like lucid, as in like it doesn't have any roughness on it. And if I increase it, well, it increases as well. So now I'm gonna revert it back to what it was. I'll change the material to what it actually should be, and then you will see why this is complete bullshit. So I can straight up delete these two, I'm telling you. But before I do that, I actually just don't delete stuff because then it deletes the connections. Just make sure you first create the node you want. In this case, is a multiply, right? So this goes into this LURP, into the A, and it doesn't make any sense. So I'll just plug it into the A of this one. And this goes into the alpha of the LURP, and it doesn't make any sense, and I'll plug it into the B, and then I'm gonna grab this output, and I'm gonna plug it in there, and I'm just gonna straight up delete these two, because why would I need them? Then I'm gonna apply, and well, now this is a bit less expensive, because it doesn't have that 3 vector. I don't understand why I did that. So, I'm also just as confused as you. I must have had a stroke that morning, but anyway, now if I apply it, and I grab the material instance and I start messing around with the overall strength. Yeah, well, now it's working the other way. Did I delete the 1 minus? No. Is because that's why I had to use the 1 minus. Now I also understand that, because it was running into the LURP and this was into the alpha and there was black into the B, so of course it was like running like the other way around. So to be honest, I don't even need this extra logic of the 1 minus, because now it can work fine. My god, this was so dumb. Apologies for that, but, well, get it fixed up now, because it's gonna stay like that, and you don't want it to be like that. You see, the result is exactly the same. So, get rid of those extra couple nodes, and this is what the actual node setup has to look like here, at that point. Don't worry, because later we'll get into the details on how to do like the rest of the stuff like this. But for now, just instead of that LURP, make a multiply and connect it to this one, and then just plug that straight into the roughness. Increase, obviously. By the way, opacity, we can clamp it from 0 to 1. Same as this, we can clamp it from 0 to... Oh, we didn't actually make it a parameter. Call it metalness, double S. Clamp it from 0 to 1. Refraction, this is fine. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. So we can apply it, save it. Cool. Then we can just create a material instance out of it. Mi glass. Just bring it into the material instances, move it there. Open the static mesh and just mi underscore glass. And we have our glass. That doesn't look too bad. Can tweak it a little bit, maybe. But yeah, this is not too terrible. It's a good place to start from. So obviously this one, I applied a custom material on it, but if I revert the property, it's gonna apply the glass. Cool. See, this is what I mean by this is very expensive. Like, look at this part, right? So this part means that it's rendering what's behind, then it's rendering it again because there is the backside of that glass, then it's rendering it one more time. Like, it's insane, right? It's rendering stuff like so many times. This is why it's extremely expensive to do stuff like this. And it's not really recommended either, but well, this prop is like this, so we will do it like this. But it's not the best to be running a whole lot of glass in front of each other. It's never a good idea. Now we can open up the material instance of our glass and just bring it out a little bit. Cool. Now this is what I mean by you want your glass to be metallic. If I bring it down, look at this. This looks like some cheap plastic, right? It doesn't look all that great. But when we bring it up, see? Now it starts to look like proper glass. The opacity instead. Now if we bring it down to 0, well, it's almost fully transparent. Okay? And when we bring it up, see, it becomes less and less translucent until it becomes almost solid, and in a way that you really actually, if I bring it all the way to 1, it's completely that it reflects entirely what's behind, but you cannot see through it. Okay, so you don't want that either. So a good compromise is like 0.4, 0.5, depending on how strong you want your glass to be. 0.5, 0.6 works well for this case. The refraction amount, as you can see, it's like the more I increase it, the more it's gonna mess around with the refraction and everything is gonna look deformed. Now, you cannot really tell because there is nothing inside, but if we go place something inside, like say like a cube, okay, I'm gonna grab this little cube and I'm gonna scale it a little bit. Right, as you can see, it starts to look very, very distorted, okay, to the point where we can really barely understand what's going on in there. Now if I leave it on 0, there's gonna be no refraction whatsoever, and that's not good either. So we want to have it to like a decent amount, but not in a way that is gonna deform heavily what's inside. So this is like good. I would say this is fine. The refraction index, it's well, look, this is even worse, right? So it's not realistic at all. I'll leave that at 0. For this case in it, no, sorry, to 1, my bad. Yes, we're gonna leave that to 1, so that works just fine. Now, roughness alpha tile, well, we don't really have a texture yet, so it's pointless for now, but let's apply a, say, a Perlin mask, maybe. Okay, so alpha tile, we're gonna increase it, and tada, as you can see now, we actually have some roughness. So some parts of the glass are now gonna be more opaque, and some parts are gonna be more translucent. We are gonna reduce it though. It's not even the right texture to be honest, but we can increase the contrast or reduce it or even invert it, right? If we go into the negative, it's gonna directly invert the contrast. And with the overall strength, see, it's like the lower we go, it seems like the more rough it becomes, and the more above we go, the less it becomes. This is a bit counterintuitive, so yeah, it might be because of the contrast is inverted. Let me see. Right, no, it's just, this just looks wrong, so we can easily fix it. It's not a big deal. By going into the glass material. So what is this? Overall strength, isn't it? Yeah. So with a 1 minus node, should be fine. Unless I have completely forgotten how this stuff works. Yeah, no, it works fine. Good. Now, when we increase it, you see it's gonna get more rough, and when we decrease it, it's gonna go and become more translucent. Now, we want a subtle effect. We don't want it to be like, ugh, this is like super in your face. It's like really, really visible. So we don't want that. We want something like maybe this. Like this is like a little bit dirty, splotchy slightly, but it's not insane. It's not in your face. Although this mask tends to be a little bit thick, you know, with detail and stuff. Like you really gotta crank it up to make it not show so much and not be in your face. Um, if you want a subtle effect, you know, the more you reduce the contrast, actually, well, in this case, we're increasing it, but the other way, so it's on a negative. You know, the more the lines are gonna be well defined, and you know, the more you bring it close to like zero, the more you know it's how to say, well, more smooth, right? So maybe this is not the best map, but it was a good to show the effect. What we actually want, it would be something like a pearly noise, but not that one. Well, this is even worse, kind of. See if we can find. Maybe this is more what we need. Let's take a look at the texture. This is not bad. It's a 256 by 256, and this is a little bit better. I think this is a built-in Unreal one. So the alpha tile, it's okay. Maybe something like this. Contrast, we can kind of reduce it because this is not a very strong one. I think this is fine. And the overall strength, let's just crank it up, see what it looks like. Yeah, I think it's fine. Uh, something down this line probably will work. Yeah, this is fine. I'm gonna increase the contrast ever so slightly. Just a little bit. Yep. Yeah, I feel like this might be okay. A bit odd, but can work. Now this cube right here I want to delete. It might work, at least for now. Like we'll see how it looks, like in the final setting, but for now it's fine. Okay, and we have our glass. Very nice. Okay, now we can, now that we finished the glass, we can start working on the other material. So we can begin from M1, which is white in this case. We have the M1 color variation alpha texture. We can look for like a purlin. Let's see. Maybe we can grab this one, it's pretty sharp. If you remember, I set it to be a little bit darker. For just trying to understand how the material looks. You know, we can either do black or like blue, so that we can clearly see the you know, the difference. We can then, well, alpha obviously on, because if we turn it off, it's gonna become just black. Okay, this is the tiling amount. I think something like this probably gonna do. Maybe a little bit less. Yeah, something like that is fine. Then alpha contrast. So this obviously, the more we crank it up and the more contrast is gonna have, leaning more on one side or another, whether we go negative or not. I feel like just a little bit of contrast is gonna work. Not too much. Like this is fine. Metallic or non-metallic, we did say that we wanted it to be slightly metallic, just because it's technically painted metal, so it's gonna be fine like this. Glossy or opaque, we set it to 0.6. Like 0.6 is actually fine, so we don't need to change that. And that's about it for the color. Now we wanna make it a little bit of a darker gray, just ever so slightly. Maybe tending a little bit to a yellow, just a tiny bit. That's a bit too much. Like this, maybe. Yeah, this is not so bad. Like it has to look natural. Like it shouldn't look like it's really in your face. You know what I mean? Mm, yeah, something like this might do. The alpha tiling, I feel like it's a little bit much, so maybe we'll reduce it a bit. This could work. Yeah, this could work. This can be fine. Maybe a little bit lighter just to not show it off so much. Remember, you can always go check in the optimization views. Sorry, in buffer visualization, you can just put on base color, and yeah, here we can see really how the material looks. This just the color might go a little bit more towards yellow, just slightly. Just I want it to have a slight more yellowish tint to it, and I think this is all right. Slightly white, perhaps. Good. Yeah, this can work. We can work with this for now, at least. I like it like this. Then we can go straight into the roughness. So we have the micro variation alpha. So this we can grab another purlin. And let's see a little bit. Like I don't want to have so much difference, but I do want it to show like that it's a little bit different, that there is some breakup, right? We can try with a purlin 6. So we did set it that it's 0.6 like as the overall material, but the micro variation we can leave it on 0 for now. No, wait, roughness alpha. Oh yeah, this micro variation should be the like how opaque the variation is. I need to get like against the sun to kind of see it. But there is no, I think the alpha is like very low. Yeah, there you go. So this should be alpha contrast, is it? Oh no, this is alpha on or off. Okay, cool. So we're gonna turn it on, and now, whoa, now we can really see that it's seriously in our faces now. Right. Alpha tiling, we might wanna. We'll see. For now, this is fine. The contrast. Well, I'm gonna keep it like a little bit sober. It's gotta be on the positive. This is normal tiling. We don't need this for now. But generally speaking, the alpha, I tend to keep it a bit low, like depending on what you decide to do with this. You know, like this can translate to very similar results depending on what you do with it. But I'm not a fan of the 6. This is a bit too obvious. This you cannot even see it. Nope. This is a little bit everywhere, I'm not gonna lie, but we could, yeah, we can work with this though. So we can make it like a 0.3, let's say. And we can maybe decrease the alpha tiling a bunch. Just like this. Or maybe increase it. Right. Well, the contrast we can, let's see on 0. But let's reduce it. So it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Like, let's have a look at it by buffer visualization. Right, that's what it looks like with the buffer visualization. Remember that colors tending more towards the black tend to be way more glossy than the whites. Now, this is like all very mid to darker. I would like to have some parts that are way lighter than that, just a bit. So what I can do, see if I reduce this, it's gonna go way darker. So something like, actually no, I want to have the micro variation like a little bit dark, so like that, but then increase this a little more, maybe to 0.76. That's fine, and then increase the contrast and see what comes up. Right, so this is not too bad. Like I can, you know, work with this. Something down this line, that's fine. But then I would increase this. Remember, you don't really want to have it on black because it's gonna look like super obvious and in your face. So you want to keep it like sober. This should not be too bad, but then again, you have to look at it as well, like how it reflects, like with light. And now it's extremely subtle. See, like even though we could see it there, but now it's like very, very subtle. So I'll reduce it like a little bit. This, yeah, this is not so bad. It's a little bit in our face, but not too bad. Increase it a bit. Okay. Yeah, I think we can work with something like this. Cool. Yeah, see, when we come really close, we can see that there are some parts that are, you know, like, I don't know if you can see it from the video, but it does look like there is a roughness breakup going on here. Like, if we disable the texture for roughness, you won't see it anymore. It looks very, very flat. Like, there is some color breakup, you can tell, but there is no roughness breakup pretty much, which is not good. So we want to have a little bit, like, that's fine, right? Very cool, very cool. Now, for the normal texture, so for the normal, I want to have a plasticky, kind of like bumpy look. By the way, as you can clearly see here, the bevel is not working as intended. And if you're wondering why that is because I did not apply the modifiers to it. So, there isn't even a triangulate. So for this material, for the red, the bevel is indeed in, but it was actually hidden. Okay, cool. So it is indeed in. Did I say the bevel's not applied? Jesus, I meant the bevel is applied. It just doesn't look like it's beveled because there is no weighted normals. So with weighted normal, now it's gonna look like it. Okay, and then we're gonna need a triangulate on top. Once again, I'll repeat this for like the 5th time. Normally, you want to manually triangulate things, especially if you're baking the textures, because once you bake them, if you use this thing, the triangulation might be different from when you import it into Substance Painter, you will re-import it back. It's just going to look like a mess. The texture is going to look all over the place. But with this sort of objects like that we're doing now with this kind of workflow, it doesn't really matter at all. So we go then here, and this is the same story. This has a bevel applied. Yeah, there you go. Still missing the weighted normals, not an array. It's missing the weighted normals and the triangulate. I'm gonna stuff them in here, bring this down. Cool. I think that's it. Maybe this one is missing it as well. This one has a bevel as well. Okay, cool. This does have a weighted normal, just does not have a triangulate. And we're gonna put it on. And this doesn't need either because, to be honest, it doesn't require any sort of beveling or weighted normals for that matter. You can just leave it like that. No modifiers. That's it. So we can grab this, export it to Unreal. And now you can watch what happens. Let's reduce the speed. Cool. And if I import it, there you go. Now it looks like it's actually beveled. Sweet. Very nice. Okay. So, moving on. As I was saying, for the normal texture, I want to have like, yeah, some like plasticky look. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually go to ambient CG and explore some of the assets, like some materials. We can look at plastic. No, probably there isn't any. Normally there isn't any plastic materials as far as I've seen. Nope. But we can maybe find. Let's see. Maybe some paint or fabric. Fabric is gonna be tough because it doesn't really look like a bumpy texture. Normally leather can work. Let's see if we find some leather. I'm just gonna look for it. Some textures can be very bumpy, and yeah, like this one is not so bad, for instance. But for the sake of trying, let's look for plastic. 1 second. Maybe there is some. Oh yeah, cool. Uh, I want something a bit more obvious than. Yeah, this is not so bad. But I want something a bit more obvious than these. Yeah, but this is not so bad. This is not so bad. This is, yeah, this is actually quite good. Yeah, this could actually work. Yeah, yeah. This could work. Okay, so we're gonna download a 1K PNG. 1K, it's fine. Cool. After downloading it, we're just gonna extract it. Open our content browser. Go into textures. Just gonna make a new folder. Call it plastic. Normal. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna go list normals. I'm not really gonna have other textures. And I can just grab the normal and drag it in here. Now just quickly open it and check out that everything looks okay with it. Hide base map for 1 second. Okay, this is detected as a normal map with no. Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is fine. As you can see, it has this micro texture here, which is very nice. Cool. Gonna bring this out again. Go back to showroom. And now, if we select this, ta-da! Great. Shit, it actually looks very nice just right out of the box. It's not so bad. You can make it more or less obvious, to be honest. Of course, we're never gonna look at the asset like this close. We're gonna probably look at the asset like this. So it is already quite visible, at least from my view. Can, of course, increase or reduce the tiling amount, because remember, we made this node. It may seem strange, but normally you want things to be a little bit obvious when it comes to normal. Like this, it's fine. Yeah, the contrast is. Ugh. Okay, now this is definitely not working. We're gonna have to take a look at this, because this is like, wow. This has messed everything up. No, it's definitely not working. We're gonna have to take a look at this. Then for the black texture, we are gonna do something very similar. So color variation alpha tile. We're also gonna use a purlin. This time we can try using this. That's so in your face, it's crazy. But we can fix it. So we can, in this case, make it white. The alpha is obviously on already. Alpha tile, we can reduce it. Do something like that. Contrast, we can increase it slightly. Metallic or not, we put it pre-metallic. And that is fine. Now, what I want to do is to reduce this quite a lot to something like this, and then make it a bit more bluish. Just slightly. Maybe reduce the alpha. This could work. It's very subtle. Let's have a look at it from the buffer visualization. Maybe a bit too subtle. It is a bit too subtle, isn't it? Maybe like this. Yeah. Yeah, this is not bad. It's not bad. We can work with this. Then for the roughness. Okay, the alpha texture. Can pick off the same one that we used here. Was it Perlin 18? Perlin 18. And So micro variation. Okay, it's probably off. So glossy or opaque. Ooh. Any material, let's make it a 0.7. The micro variation, we can make it a, well, for now, let's leave it at 0, just to see how it looks. I feel like the alpha tile is mostly fine. Maybe just a little bit higher, but that's about it. Contrast is also okay-ish. Maybe a bit less. Normal. No, this is normal. Okay, perfect. Might actually make this a little bit more marked out, just like this. But obviously, I'm not gonna leave it a full gloss. Let's make it a 0.3. Still kinda obvious. Maybe a bit too obvious. 0.5. Okay, that becomes a little bit subtle, or maybe a bit too much. 0.4. Okay, that's too much. I think maybe 0.4 is the sweet spot. Maybe this one a 0.6 and this one a 0.3. Definitely too much. As you can see, there is a lot of tweaking. Like, you gotta sort of like get the feel for it a bit. Also, you know what your material is supposed to look like. I know I want something kind of visible, but also a little bit subtle. Yeah, this is fine. See, like, against the light, you can clearly tell that there is roughness breakup, but it's not that obviously in your face. For the normal texture, we could do the same as this one, or we could go another route. Let's reopen one moment our ambient CG. So this might be interesting. I'm gonna download it. It's still a 1K PNG. You can also go back and take a look at something else, because maybe we find some nice inspiration. Wouldn't mind some scratches either. Honestly, this is pretty interesting. This is also very, very intricate, so to speak. Let's download this as well. I just want to see how it looks. It's probably not a good fit because it's that varied that the texture itself, as in the colors, would have to look different according to that. And no, it's not, probably not gonna work, but let's see. So I'm gonna extract both of these. So one is plastic 2. You cannot see it because it's on my other screen. Plastic 2 and plastic 6. Oh, Jesus, leather actually 6. Now open content browser. I'm gonna go into the textures, normals. So leather 6, was it? Yeah. Letter 6 is in. Reopen it. Reopen it. Said. So I was plastic 4, so this is plastic 2. Cool. So plastic is the one that looks more messed. Curious to see a little bit how it looks. So let's look for a leather. Sorry, actually leather was the one that looks less messed up. But look, this is what I mean. You see how it looks like it's dented inward? So that is wrong, right? That is wrong. It shouldn't look like this. It should look flipped. But it isn't. It looks like it's dented inwards. So to fix that, you gotta really go here and flip the green channel. And now if we save it and go back, see, now it looks bumpy on the outside. So yeah, Unreal like sometimes does this. You're gonna have to go in and fix it because it just looks wrong. And with the decals it's gonna be the same, so we're gonna I mean, with the decals it just looks weird because the light, it looks like if there's a light source from top looking to the decal, like top to bottom, what that's gonna look like is that the decal is gonna be lit from the bottom and not the top. It just looks completely unnatural, as in, like, if you're not used to it, you know something is wrong, you can see that something is wrong, but you cannot exactly tell what. That's what. And now you know. So, it's not bad. Well, let's look at the other plastic. It's not too bad, but the texture looks too uniform for this normal map. It's too detailed, I would say. It's like having these scratches. You would expect the paint to be chipped off or something, and it's not. And it's not gonna work. It is not gonna work. So I'm gonna apply this instead. Perfect. What the hell is even this? Okay, let's look for leather again. So I think this one works much better. We might have to tile it a bit more. That does look a bit leathery though, doesn't it? It's okay, actually. I don't mind it for now. That's fine. Cool. I'll keep it like that for now. For the third material instead, this is the rubbery one. So once again, we're gonna be looking for a purlin, not pelin, purlin. Let's see. $17 actually looks okay. So the color variant, again, we're gonna go for white because it's really in your face. Alpha tile. I want to keep this kind of low, I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to crank it up tons. Something like this. Contrast. No, contrast, I want very little bit of it. Metallic or not, we said that it's rubber, so no metal. And yeah, for now the glossiness, we're just gonna leave it up. So like a solid 0.8 works fine. Maybe even a 0.9 because it's plastic. Like it's rubber. So yeah, that's gonna do. What I want to do is maybe reduce it, like reduce the color variation and bring it more to the yellow side. That's very bloody yellow. Maybe could increase the contrast, perhaps. Actually, that does not look half bad. Look at that. It's a little bit much, but it's not terrible per se. It's actually pretty good. Dig it. I dig it. Cool. And maybe we can make a variation depending on where the material goes. So here's the thing. If you want to do that, we have to change the material slightly. So let's say that we want to have the roughness variation be dependent on this kind of texture. Like, we can do that, but we need to change a few things. So going back to our basic material, we know that the texture is in here, right? Yes. So it comes out as a color alpha. What we can do with that, So this is M3, isn't it? Yes. So we could grab the color alpha and mess around with it and shove it into the roughness. And put it also in here, but in the M3. It's gonna start to look really messy now, but it's fine. Like, it's just for research purposes. So we would plug it in here, but not just directly. We want to also apply a couple of other things to it because we want some way of being able to control that contrast, right? Because remember, we bypassed all of this logic now. So all this logic, it's useless. Now there is a way to make a sort of a, yeah, there is a way to actually mess around with it. But yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, otherwise we start going insane here. But I can make a multiply. Actually go in and plug this into the alpha. Or rather than a multiply, I can make a cheap contrast actually. And the result, bring it into the M3 alpha. Then we make a variable, convert it to a param, and we call this roughness map contrast call text. So we know it's the color texture. So this one we're gonna put it into the M3 params, and we're gonna save everything and head back here. Now you may already be able to see it, but if I go here, there you go, and I increase this or decrease it rather, it should work together, see, with the contrast. I mean, like, taking into consideration the color map that is underneath, see? Like, for example, now it's kind of working like the other way around. When I increase it, like, this part is really black. Like, it's, as in, like, if we look at the map, it's gonna look really black. It should be the other way. So that's not as it should be. So I should use a 1 minus node before it. So that, yeah. Yeah, from here actually, 1 minus. So that it switches it and I don't have to go crazy every time inverting it. Ah, of course, didn't save it. So remember that now, like, when I go positive, see, this is black. If I apply and save it, now it should be the other way. What? Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna question it anymore. It works. Fuck. This is more or less what I had in mind. It's fine. Obviously, the more I crank it up, the bigger the difference. I don't want it to be too obvious. Something like this, it's not so bad. Obviously, remember that the micro variation is also gonna play a role here. Wait, but why is it... Hold on, why is it playing a role though? Hold on a second. Ah, yeah, of course, because... Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Of course, because the... Like, this logic still applies. That's just being driven by the alpha. My bad. This was really dumb, actually. So we actually don't need this cheap contrast at all. We don't even need this variable. These are pointless now. Because we could just grab this, plug it into the alpha directly. And the base roughness and variation roughness are driving actually the glossiness. So it was redundant as hell, and it was even useless. Right, so let's say I want to make this pretty... Wait, what's this gloss? No, actually, never mind. Apologies, never mind. This is actually smart to keep those there, because we actually do want to maybe increase or decrease the contrast of the map itself, the way that it's reaching the alpha. But we want these two to actually drive the glossiness. So no, this was actually smart. It wasn't stupid. Sorry, this is the first time I do this, actually, so a bit of trial and error. But yeah, no, it works. It works fine. So let's say this, I increase it 0.9. This, let's make it a 0.2, and there you go. That's okay, actually. Yeah, it's not bad. You can see there's a difference in the roughness, and if we actually go look to the buffer visualization on roughness, there you go. That's how it looks like, and yeah, that's not bad. Cool. Yeah, I dig it. It's good. It's good. Greetings, this is Nick from the future, and yes, while that was a pretty smart thing to leave there, this is a pretty dumb thing that was there instead. So, here there is a lerp node in the video, but well, let's go back one sec into the M2 logic. Okay. There was a lerp here like this. This was the setup of that lerp, if I remember correctly, because now I fixed it. So this is, I don't know what sort of what stroke I had when I made this, but this is pointless. Don't leave that lerp there. Just make a multiply, and that's it. This is gonna drive the on or off for the alpha. You don't need that lerp, okay? So get rid of it and put in the multiply instead. Fantastic. Good. I think we're at a decent point in texturing the asset. We may stop for now for a little bit, and I'm gonna come back and we can then start working on the rest of the model. So the last few parts missing. So the lights on top, first of all, and then the little terrarium at the bottom with the plant, with the fern coming out, and then we can work on the decals. And the decals are gonna be the hard part. Right, see you soon.